Hello and welcome to Inside 11Alive News Investigates. I'm Faith Jesse. 11Alive News Investigates found tens of millions of dollars of Georgia's budget may soon be going to people who have had their criminal convictions overturned. That's because a bill, SB 244, quietly passed in the final hours of the legislative session. Investigator Savannah Lev is joining us now to take us behind the scenes on this investigation and outlines what else you all should know about this bill as it waits for Governor Brian Kemp's final approval here. Savannah.
Yeah, that's right, Faith. So for exonerees and advocates of those wrongfully convicted, the passage of this bill has been a long time coming.
These are just pictures of days we was out, birthdays.
You better have some time on your hands.
And me.
If you ask Mario Stinchcomb about his family.
I'm one of those type of dads.
He's got plenty to say.
My little girl's soccer team, they undefeated right now. They the Flamingos.
Plenty to show.
Being able to go to the games and cheer, do some of the things that I wanted to do for so many years, you know, and I'm able to do that now.
A collector of memories now that he's home.
I was away for 19 years total.
Serving a life sentence for a crime he didn't commit.
When you're in prison with a life sentence, it's almost like you're just waiting to die. But I kept a purpose, and I always knew my case would get overturned.
And it was. In 2021, Mario walked away an exonerated free man.
I still hold that feeling every day.
But harsh realities soon pushed in. He learned Georgia was one of 11 states with no law on the books to compensate wrongfully convicted citizens.
Like, I didn't know that it took all of this money to survive out here.
It's a complaint the Georgia Innocence Project has brought to state legislators for years.
We can never repay these people for the experiences that they've missed. The only thing we can do is give them money.
Senior attorney Christina Cribbs admits it surprised even her when in the final hours of this year's legislative session, the bill to compensate the wrongfully convicted passed.
Motion has prevailed.
There are very few people who would sign up to go to prison for over 20 years for $1 million.
The bill compensates $75,000 per year of wrongful conviction, an extra $25,000 for each year on death row. 11Alive News Investigates calculated if each of Georgia's 51 exonerees since 1989 pursues compensation for their collective 610 years lost, the state would owe around $46 million.
That's kind of a drop in the bucket as far as the entire state budget goes.
To be compensated, exonerees must take their case to the Office of State Administrative Hearings. An administrative law judge not used to dealing in criminal cases.
Right. It's a bit outside of the realm of their normal course of business, and so we're hoping to be able to provide some kind of educational opportunities about wrongful convictions. I would hope that we're not going to have to go through in minutia again, what's already been done.
Those uncertainties need to be ironed out, she says, if the bill becomes law and takes effect July 1st.
The same dreams that I had those 19 years ago, I still have them now, but they're bigger. I'm just gonna invest in what I'm already doing. This is gonna be great for me, for my family, for my kids. I mean, this is the best time of my life.
Savannah Levins, 11Alive News Investigates.
Such a really interesting piece, and you take a look and you see the folks who had been locked up for all of these years coming out realizing that they shouldn't have been there in the first place, just wanting to restart life again. Let me ask you this, Savannah. Can you talk to us more about why these claims will go to the administrative courts? What exactly do these courts do?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the process prior to now was that basically a individual legislator could sponsor a bill for each individual exoneree. So this bill really aimed to make that process easier by making the claims go through an already established court system that already works with money, which the administrative court does. Now, it usually deals with things like state disability benefits, child support, things like that. So while, yes, they are used to talking money, dealing with wrongful convictions or just criminal cases in general will be all new for these judges. And the process will likely require an attorney familiar with that court. Now, the bill does allow for exonerees to have their attorney's fees compensated too. I spoke with Atlanta-based attorney Cameron Roberts about what this process might look like since it is all going to be brand new. He's done some pro bono work for Georgia Innocence. Here's what he said.
It's a process that's designed well to get quick resolutions and not, 5 years of expensive litigation, right? Like in my day-to-day practice in commercial disputes, litigation can be long and expensive. The administrative law process is great for this because it should be efficient, but give the claimants an opportunity to prove their case and prove their entitlement.
The world of law is quite large, and the expertise, it's wide-ranging. In your opinion, what types of attorneys would be the best to take on this process? People who are more familiar with the administrative process, or people who are more familiar with the criminal process in these cases?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I would encourage all attorneys to take a look at this bill.
Do you think that this process is going to involve, is it handing over a packet and saying, this is what's been done, can you sign here, Mr. or Mrs. Judge? Or is it going to be, testimonies and things like what do you imagine this process might be?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'd say the answer to that is a little bit open right now, and it might depend on the case. Some cases might be clearer, right? If you've been exonerated because of DNA evidence, and the district attorney agrees that your exoneration, that you were wrongfully convicted, and the DNA evidence makes that crystal clear, it might be a little bit of a simpler process. Some others, I could imagine, might be more contested, and so I don't want to paint with a broad brush that every claim is going to look exactly the same. What is nice, though, is that the statute provides timing mechanisms, and so the decisions do have to come fairly quickly. And for claimants who are looking for, who've been exonerated, and for many good reasons they've been in prison for a long time, they're going to need some help to get on their feet. It's good that this process, will occur relatively quickly.
And so we just heard from Cameron there. What are the timing mechanisms here?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Basically, this is all built to make sure that this isn't super delayed over months or even years. So according to the bill language, once an exoneree files a compensation claim, a judge has to be assigned to it within 15 days. And then a hearing has to happen within 180 days. There's also a set time for the district attorney who prosecuted the original case and the attorney general to respond and contest the claim if they want to. Now, if they do, they will have to become a part of that hearing as well and have to present their case on why they think that person should not be compensated. Now, the attorneys I've spoke with don't expect that will happen all too often, since these cases have already basically been litigated, they've been overturned, they've essentially been wrapped up and not re-prosecuted. And then after that hearing, the judge has 30 days to make their final ruling on whether the exoneree will be compensated. So, Faith, at maximum, from the time they file to the time a decision is made, these exonerees should have an answer in about 7 months max, which seems like a long time, but for these folks who have spent decades in prison, it's supposed to be expedited. And while I was talking with Mario, he actually mentioned, as eager as he is to move forward with his claim, there's a little PTSD almost about rehashing his case again. I asked Cameron about his thoughts on how this compensation process might impact the victims, not only the exonerees who didn't do the crime, but also the families of the victims of that original crime.
Yeah, I think in terms of what you just said about, the concern over re-traumatizing you and is especially heightened when it's an uncertain kind of process and an uncertain outcome. Am I going through all this for no reason? Is anything going to come of this? That's one thing about, having this reform that's so impactful, because, someone knows that, okay, I'm going to have a judge hear my case and they're going to make a decision, and I'm okay with putting myself out there and saying, no, I was wrongfully convicted. I am innocent. I deserve this compensation, just to put me back on my feet. And I think they're, excited about this new opportunity to do that.
So, Savannah, if you could explain here, you keep referencing this as a bill. We know that it passed both chambers of the legislature, but it's not law yet, right?
Right. That's why we're not calling it a law. The governor has not officially signed this bill into law yet. Unless he vetoes it by the deadline on Wednesday, it will automatically become law. And Faith, you actually had a sit-down interview with Governor Kemp a couple weeks ago, and you did us the favor of asking him about this.
That's right, I did, and here's what he said. What are your thoughts on this bill, and do you have any reservations about it?
Well, we're doing legal review right now on every single bill that passed, because while some things that pass sound really good, there's potential conflicts with other statutes. There's the potential that something may be unconstitutional in there, and then there's the whole policy aspect of it. So what I do is we go through every single bill, our team does. So while the General Assembly's out and everybody's getting some R&R, our team is still hard at work doing a line-by-line review on every piece of legislation that passed. And so we will not sign anything until that's done, and then we have a policy discussion on what the bill does, what's the issue that this is tackling, and then answering questions that I or the team may have. And so I wouldn't want to specifically comment on individual bills until we get through doing the review process, because some things are not as they seem when you actually read the language in them.
So it's to be seen on if you would.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing bad about that. We're just doing the legal review now, and if the legal review checks out, then we'll sit down and go through the policy, and then, I'll make the decision on whether to sign or veto.
So it looks like that decision is yet to be seen, and that he still needs to look to see what this is.
Exactly. Well, if he doesn't veto it by Wednesday, it'll automatically become law.
Well, there you go.
So he has to take some action on it, or if he wants to veto it. Otherwise, even if he doesn't sign it, it's going to become law anyway.
All right. Well, we will see if
we'll
that happens on Wednesday. Savannah, thank you so much for breaking down this story. So important, can impact a lot of people. Really appreciate it. And if you have a safety concern in your community or story that you would like to share with 11Alive News Investigates, you can call 404-873-9111 or email investigates@11alive.com. And thank you so much for joining us inside 11Alive News Investigates. We'll see you next time.